Howdy folks. So let's start off with the bounce light that we designed on Thursday, isn't it? Tuesday, yeah, we designed that on Tuesday. This is a vase slash lamp that I've just been designing this morning. It's like two-part. One second, just let me fix my headphones here. Can I hear myself there? That's a bit better. I don't like it when I can't hear myself in my headphones. So, yeah, this is a bit of a two-part vase slash. I think I might also make it into a lamp, with the base being non-transparent. I always get opaque, and I think that's opaque, yeah. I always get them mixed up. I always think it's opaque, transparent, but it's not. And then the top being transparent, which I think will look pretty cool. It's actually, interestingly, it's just the same shape. One made slightly larger, and then offset slightly, and then cut in, so it actually interfaces like perfectly with itself. Which I've done on a couple of other lamps actually, and a couple of other vases, and it's always pretty popular. It's a popular look because it means you can get two colours without having to have the EMS, which, as we know, I absolutely hate. I don't hate EMS. The EMS is brilliant. I hate multicolour printing. It's just too slow, wastes too much material, and it's a complete waste of time for the type of products I do. If you're doing, you know, figures and toys and stuff like that, maybe it's okay, but I still think there's better ways of doing it. Just do things modular, but whatever. But yeah, let's have a look at. So I did actually have to make some changes to the bounce light that we did, and it was a change that I thought I might have to make. And it's essentially this here. If you look, that's now a straight angle. It's like it did have a fillet on it originally. And when I did the test prints, it was just messy. And I thought it would be because fillet's coming straight off, because obviously it prints on this surface here to minimize the supports. But when you've got a fillet coming straight off the bed 99 times out of 100, it just looks a bit messy. But I thought I'd try reducing the layer height in this area and seeing if that would help, and it did help, but it still looked a bit messy. So I thought, actually, let's just take that angle off and have it straight. And as it happens, I actually prefer the look. But yeah, it came out great. So let me just get Chrome up. And let's have a little look, because I uploaded it this morning. So you can have a little look at the renders and stuff like that. Maybe it's not actually fully uploaded yet. Oh, there it is. So up, and the heatsink lamp from last week's up as well. So yeah, it came out really good. The layer lines end up being quite visible here, because obviously if you think it's printing on the bed, this is a curved surface at the top. I could reduce the layer height effectively to make that a bit better, but ultimately, because of the way it's oriented, it's always going to be planar with the bed, which means you're always going to have a little bit of a layer line effect. The body came out great. The body came out so good. That texturing we did just looks really sharp. It completely hides any layer lines. Not that you really get that bad layer lines on a bamboo printer anyway. Yeah, the light being in the base here, you do get a little bit of ambient bounce. I just think it's a really cool little modern accent lamp. Like, I really like this. You can still see some layer lines in here, but I think it looks overall pretty sharp. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with it. It came together, as I say, I only really had to make that one change, which sometimes I have to make more, but that was a pretty straightforward model, to be fair. It was just more about figuring out how you wanted angles to relate to each other and the thickness of things and stuff like that. But no, it was a pretty simple model, and I've just got on the printer at the moment. Let me see. It's a vase, but yeah, it's a bit bonkers. It's very, very wibbly. I'm in a wibble mode at the moment. And it ends up, I've done a test print as a spiral vase mode print just to get it done quick, just to see what I thought of how it would look, and it's now doing the proper print. It looks really organic. I really actually like it. It looks better in person than it does on here. I mean, getting rid of edges helps actually. You see quite a lot of, like, when you add the edges, I find that it like takes away a lot of the like impact of the smooth areas, because obviously it adds an edge in. Yeah, so that'll get finished today, and hopefully I'll be able to get that up this week. I do have a few models in the backlog, so if it doesn't come up this week, it'll be next week. This could also make a very good lamp, which is actually what I've designed here, but I haven't fully finished designing it yet. I think if this was done in spiral vase mode, the outside, with a coloured diffuser, I just think all this ribbing could actually make for quite a cool diffuser on a light. This is actually just it's 3 separate curves stretched and moved vertically, and then radial arrayed, which then gives this very like varied look. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how that's come out as well. But for today, now I am going to design a lamp. I've got a couple of ideas actually, and the first one's probably going to be quite quick. So we might end up doing 2 things today. I don't know. We'll just see if the mood takes me, if I feel like I want to continue, or if I feel like I want to go hide in a dark room. So let's get a new thingamajig going, a new window, but then let's get good notes up. Yeah, cool, it's worked. So this was obviously the bounce light sketch, so this is an even quicker sketch. It's a super simple 2-part light that uses 2 transparent parts. It's actually inspired by an old, say old, I mean, Christ, I remember really wanting it, so it's not old, I promise. An old Bang & Olufsen, I think it was Bang & Olufsen speaker, that was, or it might have been Harman Kardon, it might have been Harman Kardon actually, that was transparent on the top and had a white plastic interior, and it was so cool. It was so insanely expensive, but I really like the shape, and I actually have a book over there. What I'm going to do at some point is I'm going to set up a second camera with a top down, that'll let me go through some of these design books I've got, so we can actually just go from, like, rather than me having an idea prepared, potentially just go through some of these books, have a look at all these amazing designs in them, and see what sort of inspiration we get, and then make that what we design in the day. Now, I haven't got the setup to do the top-down camera at the moment, but I have I think it's called 1001 Designs or something like that, and I've also got Adita Ram's book as well, but I believe the speaker was in the 1001 Designs book, which just made me think, you know what, that form could be pretty cool for a lamp. So if we were, say, this bit here at the bottom would be where the LED would sit, and it would be transparent. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like a teal or something like that. I suppose the colour doesn't really matter for the design, does it? But, and then this second bit effectively would be a similar shape to this, pushed over it so it sits directly down, and then has the inside removed by the base part. So it would effectively be this bit stands, and then this shade part just slips on top. That would be a different colour. Now, my hope and my theory and what I aim for with it is that you'll have the light in the base, so you'll get light emission at the bottom where the light actually is, which will be the colour that the base is, pure. Then in this section here, you're seeing the base colour and the shade colour. So you'd end up with like a double diffuser kind of look, a little bit like, if I look at some of my other designs for lights, so say a little bit like this, So that's two coloured tubes, outer shade, inner shade. So maybe you'd get something like that. I don't know, because they're not, those two parts are not directly interfacing with each other. There's a gap. Whereas with this design that I'm looking at, the external is actually sitting directly on. So I just wonder how the light will handle that, how will the colour look as diffuse? So will it sit on and just not transmit very well? Because ultimately we're going to have the base thickness, the inner wall of the shade thickness, and the outer wall of the shade thickness. And I want this to be pretty much no infill. Although I do think actually you could do some cool stuff with infill. You could do like a gyroid infill or something with this, and it might actually look really good. So it might be one of those things where I do a small test with infill on and just see how it diffuses. Because with a transparent filament, sometimes infill just looks, and obviously it impacts how much light gets out, but it might look really good. So that's a couple of tests that I think I probably need to do. But before doing that, I'd actually need to design it, which would be, you know, the key point. So let me get Plasticity back up. Before we start, I'm going to have a sip of coffee, but I will mute the microphone so you don't get any slurping streams. You notice my microphone's in a different position today as well. I have an arm now, so I'm not having to move my arms through the previous setup. But, so, let's get going. So I think first thing to do is design the base. Not base the design, design the base. So let's just say we're going to make this quite big. So let's go 240 for the maximum height of the lamp. So I've wrote 250, obviously. Right. Now what we need to do is get an impression of the relationship between the top and the bottom dimensions. So if you press V, actually, that's a good tip. If you're ever drawing a circle or anything like this, and you're looking at it on the front plane, but you know you want it on the top plane, you can start dragging it out. If you press V, it then flips to the 90-degree plane. So then you know you've effectively got it the right, but you can set the dimensions from this plane. So should we go 150? I have a feeling I want more than that. Yeah, because if we're going to go at 240 height, I'm pretty sure I want wider than that. What are we at there? So that's 208. Right, well, let's just go with it and see. So the base part is actually going to go all the way to the top of the model, because the whole of the cone will go right at the top of the shade. So if we bring this up to that 240 mark, and then let's scale it in a little bit. It's one problem when you're doing circles and stuff on the side. It's actually quite hard to see them when you're on the front plane if they're really on the top plane. But let's just see what we think of this as a shape. So yeah, I don't mind that actually. So what I'm really thinking about here is, how does the bottom, the base, relate to the top sidewise, and do I like this angle, this taper, or do I want it more aggressive? Let's just hide that, duplicate that, hide it, scale it down a bit, just to see what we think of a slightly more aggressive one. So it's either that or that. Let's go for the more aggressive one. And then, so if we just look back on, not Chrome, on this little sketch I drew. So if we look here, the shade comes down maybe 2/3, 3/4, probably 3/4, isn't it? 3/4 on the base. So if we were to get the base, let's just draw a line here, and then let's do a rectangular array that comes up to the top. All I'm doing here is making some guides effectively and setting the array to 4. And then I know I've got quarters. Now, what I also could have done is this, done a isoparam and done 4 of them effectively. But that's the thing with 3D modeling. There's 50 ways to do everything. So if we say that we think this is a quarter. No, I think I want it lower than that actually. Like that. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this, not because I actually want to cut it, because now I can look at that edge, I can steal that circle, which will be the perfect dimension, and then I can join those back together. So now we have this circle here, and we're effectively doing the inverse of what we did before. We're now thinking, right, well, how wide? So we do actually want this to go wider than the base. We don't have that much room, do we? So what do we actually have here? So this is, oh, we're okay there. So that's 234. And right, so let's just try this for a loft. You know what it is? I think actually we probably want the base narrower. So let's just bring this in a little bit, because if we do that, then it lets us, it effectively lets us make this more, well, not the line. It lets us make this wider relative to the base, because what I'm concerned about here is I don't want the base to be any wider than 245, which is obviously in and around where the base of the printer is. Another thing with design this, it's difficult because obviously it's transparent, the final product, whereas this, you're a little bit like, do I want, it doesn't look that great if you know what I mean, but it's because you can't really take advantage of the transparency. I actually think I'm going to bring this up a little bit, and I'm going to do it with an isoparam to give me that circle I was talking about before. Now let's just also, because we want this to still come up to the top, just bring it past where we need it and we can chop it off. Yeah, I think that's better. Let's just get rid of all these lines. Or curves, as I should call them, they're not lines. Even though they are straight, but they're technically curves. Chop that top off. Right. So I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll bring in that mount that I love so much. So I've got a bit of an idea of scale. Import/append. Let's go to, again, get to see all the magic, the scribble wibble lamp. Pre-modeled parts. Mount. Yeah, got loads of room, plenty of room. Let's just put a little section analysis on so we can see. So let's bring this down to the base. You want it pretty low in the base, because obviously the higher it is, it's going to cast, you'll have, if the light itself's very high in the base, you'll have like an area of shadow around here. So really, I mean, you're going to get that anyway, because the light doesn't shine out the sides, but I want it as low as possible. Right, but we do also want to rotate this. Not that it, you have to rotate it because you can print it in any direction. But it's I just like having the kit when I'm designing. I like having the cable actually at the rear. So I do prefer to rotate it so it's actually the same as it would be when it's printed. So let's turn off X-ray mode. Right, let's make these solids. So Shift J, Shift J. Now, how do I want to do this? Do I want to do a bit of a... I'm just thinking, probably don't want to just do... Well, let's just try it first. I probably... what will end up here when I take this and I boolean that away is we get the shape, but it's got this edge, which I think's a little bit... It'll just mean it's very, very fine at the top. And if I want to do no infill, it's potential a slice I might get a bit iffy about it and it might have some holes. So I think we'll do that and we'll just add in a fillet because we'll print it this way because the smallest amount of area that needs support is here. So also just adding a tiny little bit of tolerance there. Just let's go minus 0.2. Right, and then this here, we're going to hollow this. Now, here's the thing. So where's my mount? Yeah, so we're going to have to do something a little bit different here because the light will not fit in this hole at the top. So if I was to hollow this, because you have to think you've got to get the light down and onto the mount. So we need to think about how we're going to do that because in my head initially I was just thinking, oh, there'll be a hole here. You can just put the light down it, but in hindsight that would have been daft anyway because it's a tiny hole and you've got to get this light all the way down to the base, which would be a pain. So we need to figure out a different way of getting the light in and on the mount. But for now we will just hollow this, which was the plan all along. Let's make it minus 1 point. I'll keep to layer width, so say 0.4. Let's just do 1.2. We want it thin because we want it to transmit. We want light to actually get through it. Now, this, we do want to hollow it, but then we want to put the top back on. So we want the inside to be hollowed. I don't think actually there's a command in just check what, I don't actually know what local does, minus 1.2. So that'll add a hole on the top. Yeah, I'll have to look up what that local toggle actually does, but I've never actually used it. It's fine though, we can hollow it and we'll go minus 1.2, so it's the same as the other. And then all I'll do is I'll add in an ISO param around the edge here. So we can pull this. Was I extruding? Oh, actually, that might not work. Yeah, because it's taking the angle, isn't it? Let's just go fixed. I think that might. No. So all we'll do is we'll just delete that face. We'll just do it with surface modeling instead. And so that is actually on top there. So we'll duplicate this edge here. And then I think what we'll be able to do is we'll just be able to imprint this curve onto the middle. Actually, it'd be just easier if I did a section analysis and then I just did a line. rather than the curve, because curves sometimes imprint a bit weirdly. So let's get rid of this curve because we know the level we're at. So essentially what we want to do is take this line and imprint it across that middle cone. Get rid of that again. Shift I. What actually do is we don't want hide occluded. That was the error. So then we can delete that face and we take this to this loft and just do G0. And then we take this to this loft, G0. Now we've got loads of sheets. So I think all these sheets, if we just join them together, so yeah. Now, I believe what we have here is not hollow. Oh, it's because it's the wrong one. That literally just worked before. Oh, it's because I haven't selected all the way around. There was probably an easy way to do this actually, which was just to draw a circle and then extrude it down, which we might end up doing if this doesn't work. Because I think what's happening here is, so if we look at it on a section LLC, it's hollow. But yeah, of course, I've completely forgot about a key thing, which is when we then join these, it will effectively think that what I'm trying to do is put a cap on this shape, which makes it solid, I believe. So if we just join all of those. Yeah, so it makes it solid. So actually the best way to do this is just hollow it, and then all I'll do is I'll just put a circle in, extrude it down. So we've got what we need there. Get rid of that edge around the side because we don't need it. I could swear there's a command actually that does this, but because effectively what you want to do is just hollow it but have it sealed. There we go. And then we can take that and that, join them together. Don't want to keep the tools. And then we take this and that and boolean them out, but I do want to keep the tools. And that'll leave us this bit here we can get rid of. Yeah. So now if we look on the side, so we've got this hollow shade shape that sits on top of this, not pyramid, cone shape. So what I think I probably want to do is just add a little bit of a, now this is the side that'll be printing, so can't go wild with any fillets or anything like that. Just get rid of this curve. Get rid of that curve. Right. So I select both inner and outer so they go together, and I'm going to do a little chamfer. And actually what we need to do here, because that had a, it's interesting, I wonder why it's done. You look here, this red, that indicates interference, which I don't know why there would be any, considering we're booleaning it, but we can actually just push that out, and then it takes the tolerance that was at the bottom anyway. The tolerance that we added in between these two parts. Actually, I'll bring this top down minus 0.2. The reason for that is because we added that tolerance, this bit here will actually sit down 0.2. So doing that means in theory they'll sit together fine. Now it'll only take a tiny bit of imperfection in the surface print of the surface finish of the print for that to not be accurate. I mean, we're talking about 0.2 millimeters here. Nobody's going to notice it, but because I know it does it, I want to make sure it's dealt with effectively. So I'll just add in a little fillet there, make things a bit nicer. Now, of course, what we could do is do fuzzy skin on one or both of the parts. Now, the tolerance 0.2 that we've added here probably doesn't allow us to have a fuzzy skin in this section. Obviously, I could just make the tolerance bigger. Or I could, in the slicer, set the fuzzy skin to end at this point, which would then, you would see the fuzzy skin area, which would diffuse all this. Actually, some of the transparent PLAs have a bit of a frosty effect to them anyway. They're not a clear thing. They're like quite frosty, quite like diffuse anyway. Especially the teal one, which I really like. So I might not have to put fuzzy skin on, but these are the type of things that I'll test while I'm printing. But the wonderful thing about this is I'm going to use hardly any filament. Like, we could have another round of guess the slicer stats. But yeah, this is going to use hardly any filament. It might actually be an idea to put, I was going to say put a bit more in the base here, but then no, I'll leave it as is. Because if we had a chunk in the base here, it's going to be banding of any light that diffuses. So I think what we might actually do though is add a third part and effectively bring the mount onto this third base part, because as it stands, you can't get the light down this hole, and even if you could, you couldn't get your hand down it to make the light sit in this section. So I think an interesting and easy way of solving it would be to make a base that the mount sits on, so it's not joined to this section, and then put the hole in the base of this middle section here for the light fitting to slide up into. Now, that seems like an easy way, because then you're putting the light on the fitting, not inside this tight space. Yeah, so let's do that. And you could do it in the same color, so it's not like it would be, yeah, it's not like it would like detract away from this like really simple two-part design I want. So I'm actually just going to extend this out by, I'll do 3 millimeters. Because I used pull, it's taken the same curve effectively that the corner above it had. We'll cut that off. And now let's just get that and the mount and isolate them. And can I just join these together? Because they're not actually together. So we need to just bring this down very slightly, just so they actually interface with each other. Cool. So now, just look at, yeah, so we need to take this and boolean away this, but we want to keep it because it's got our lighting fixture on it. Now that's cut away the lamp area, and we can just cut away this middle part because obviously they don't need that. There we go. We just put some little fillets on these corners here just to give us a little bit of clearance. And then we need to add in our tolerance. So because I added those fillets, I could just select everything at once. So say, for example, here, you'd have to make 3 selections because they've not got fillets on them, which would be, I mean, it's not exactly a problem, is it? But just adding fillets means that you get selections that transit across things. So let's do a minus 0.15, which is a minus 0.3 all the way around. Let's just check the tolerance. Oh, I've pulled it. Let's just double check something here. So why do we have interference? So this is exactly what happened. Oh, it's the start of the, it's not the middle. Let me just look from the top, because that's got me a bit confused, because yeah, there's no interface in there. I was going to say there shouldn't be any interfacing. Do you know what it is? It's the this is a thing that actually gets on my wick a bit with plasticity, and it's not a problem. So effectively, there's like everything's calculated. It's all mathematically calculated, the curves, and there is a level of detail that you can put in. And effectively, I think the CPU calculation there is, if you can see, it's not actually circular. It's like it's like straight angles. So it's bringing it down in detail. But I believe that when it's exported, it'll fully see. Like here, these are straight. I don't actually know why it's. Let me just check the preferences. Got it on fast faceting quality. That's why. I'm going to go high quality. I think I probably could go ultra quality, but I'm just going to go high quality. Doesn't look any different, but maybe it just needs a restart. So the 3D printings, lights, what should we call this? Let's call it Harman Light, because I think that was what inspired me. Yeah, see, there's no interface in there now, so it's just recalculated. So, this is one of those ones where it's dead simple, but I'm not going to know whether I like it until I've printed it, because it's so dependent on the materials. Well, let's say that's done. Let's say that's done, because any work I'm going to have to do is figuring out how the filament prints and what it looks like in the actual filament. So I'll have to do 2 or 3 tests, I think. You could actually do the oh no, that wouldn't work. I was going to say you could do the middle part, the base part. I was thinking in a non-transparent filament, but then the entire cone of the middle wouldn't be transparent either. So yeah, don't do that. I think we'll call that one done. But what I've got a bit of a hankering for heat sinks, which is not the type of thing you should admit freely on the internet, at least not without a paywall. And I think I want to do another heatsink lamp. Now, I've designed nothing. I've got nothing in my head. But I thought a little bit like when we were doing the Japanese book nook, how we just hit the Googles. We just hit the Googles and we hit the image search and we crossed our fingers and hoped everything was safe for work. Because I don't want to be banned on week one, of streaming for accidentally showing gratuitous imagery on stream. So why don't we go onto Chrome? Because that's been a quick design, and I thought it would be. A little bit of a hunt around some heatsink designs. Now, I understand this could be too exciting. Today you probably woke up and thought, I can't wait to look for heatsink designs. But I'm here to tell you that your dreams have come true. I'm going to Chrome. I'm going to look for some cool radial heat sinks. And basically what we're looking for here is some inspiration for a radial heat sink that could make me think of a lamp. Because that's, I'll get it up on here. This one turned out great. Inspired by a CPU, the heatsink. It was just a big whopping thing with a fan in the middle. That, like, it's such a nice lamp. Actually, it's in the garage. I was going to say, it just came out so great. I just think those fins are so satisfying. So let's get at it. Let's have another radial heatsink fan. Light, not fan. Images, fingers crossed. Whoa. Well, straight away I like this. Straight away I like. I said it when we were doing the book knock. 3D modeling takes you some bonkers websites. Never did I expect to be on frostytech.com, which appears to be a forum dedicated solely to CPU coolers. Which is just wonderful. Isn't the internet a great place? Let's save this image. It's one, but I'm not falling in love with the first heatsink I see. What is that? I'm going to say that's not a heatsink. It says heatsink, and it will be a heatsink, but I'm going to say it's not because it doesn't give me the heatsink feels. This thing. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Look at that. Look at this. I'm going to need to moisten my mouth here. God, at this rate, I'm going to have to start a website, OnlyFins. When we're going to Alibaba when we're in business. Oh yeah, this is great. So it's not actually, it's actually a little bit similar to this in its like radial nature, but it's branches and its fins. And I like it. So it's 1 into 2 with a curve and a knuckle by the looks of it. Should we watch this video together? Look at the size of it. The way my brain works is I'm looking at the backside of that and going, terrible overhangs, never going to print. But I love this. This is happening. This is happening now. And you're here for it and you're getting to witness it. Save as. I don't want to save an image. Do you know what's doubly annoying is I've taken the screenshot key, the screenshot shortcut on macOS for something else, and the amount of times I realise I need that screenshot key. So let's just capture that. And then, so we've saved that. I'm going to look for one more, but this one currently, this is my heatsink of choice. Why? You know what? Why did we go to Google? Of course, AliExpress is going to have the. What the flipping hell is this? Hexahedral aluminium heatsink with curved, wavy, dense, radial folded fin. I'm so sorry about all the S's in the microphone there. I need to get a de-esser on the audio. Look at this rude boy. I'm not designing it because this is the type of thing where I'd have to sit there for 20 minutes figuring out come on, that's got to be AI generated. That can't be real. That can't be a real heatsink. Do you know what? It bloody is AI generated, isn't it? Because look at these, man. They don't make any sense. Yeah, these are all AI. So what are you actually getting? So I think that one's real. But that's AI generated. We might get to see in this video. We're not getting to see in this video. They're just showing us all boring heat sinks. Simple, boring, finned heat sinks. Nobody wants that. I can't spend all stream looking at heat sinks because one, I'll be added to a list in addition to all the lists I'm already on. But right, I'm going to do one more page. I've ventured into page 2 of Alibaba. And we know once you venture to page 3 of Google, you're basically in the dark web. So interesting. Also a very nice heatsink, but no. This one. This is what we're going to go for. Whoa, what was that there? What was that? What is this? It's like heatsink Lego. I'm designing a lamp, which wouldn't be immediately obvious from me sitting on Alibaba looking at heatsinks. But what I'm actually doing is I'm going to make another heatsink-inspired lamp. This was the one I did the other day. So I'm looking at heatsinks to get some inspiration for the lamp, and I'm going to do this one. I'm going to use this as my main inspiration. So, right, what I'm going to do is I'm just pull this off to the side so it's always visible to my eye, just out of the way. Maybe get rid of the 300 tabs that I've got. Yeah, let's put this aside and then go back to Plasticity, main. And let's start a new one. New file, go. Delete. Right, I think the thing to do will be to... Actually, should I try and get this image? I'll try to see if I can get this image in Plasticity just as a reference. Does it save it on? It does save on desktops. It's done it at like 3 microns in size. Right, so should we design from the top? Yeah, let's design from the top. So let's take this on the X, rotate it 90, and then let's go at the top. Now I'm not going to use the image because it's not straight on, so I can't really just like use it to draw over. It's on an angle, but I can use it for inspiration, and boy am I inspired right now. So let's go 220 for the width of the top of the lamp. Now, I think what we probably want to do is just do one of these and then radial them. But are we really going to count fins on a live stream? Right, I think a quarter is 8. So that's 32. So let's just draw one line, radial it 32 times. Yeah. So I'm just getting a feeling for how dense it's going to be. So when I start modeling out one of these fins, I know how thick I can go. So let's also add in a circle in the center because we obviously want a hole. So let's bring in my favorite mount. Pre-modeled parts. Mount. correct the center because it's never imports correctly the center. Rotate. Oh, see, this is the why modeling top down is a bad idea, because obviously I'm so used to what XYZ is normally. So we're actually on the Y here. So we're looking at this top down, Z is now no longer what I think of as Z. Right. So if we assume that this is going to be the LED fixture in the middle. So let's say that circle needs to be about here because we need room for the actual LED to shine through. So let's go to like there to give us enough room. I'm actually going to bring this image in a little bit because it's a bit annoying that it's off to the side. So now I think basically what we're going to do is just want to do one thing. So if we go really simple and let's just do it initially as a line that we turn into a sheet. Yeah, and then we can give it thickness. So it's one line. Then I'm going to say it up to about here maybe. It then branches off to be a second line. And what I'm going to do is I'll make that second line go to the middle of these 2 points. So everything should feel spaced out correctly. Can we just add, yeah, let's add some fillets onto that just to give it a nice curve. Now what I'll do is I'll just, actually let's hide this now. We don't need the mount. We were just using it for scale really. So this, and this, can we join them? No, because they're, I don't think you can join it in, yeah, you can't join an intersection. So yeah, we'll just have to do them individually. It's because technically at this point, I don't think you can have 2 lines actually join as a curve. A curve has to be one continuous thing. It can't branch itself, but that doesn't really matter. We can just do this. So if we pull this down and then we pull this down, the same point by holding Control. So what effectively I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build one of these now. Yeah, there's a shallowed out ball in there in the middle, but we can do all that once I'm happy with the profile. So let's get rid of these curves for now, just so I can focus on this. So can we join them now? We can. Didn't think we'd be able to do that. So let's do thicken. And I'm just going to do a little test here. So I did 4 mil, didn't I, for the other ones the other day. You're not going to let me thicken that because they'll intersect, won't they? Right, not a problem. So what we'll do is we'll just delete all this and we'll just thicken one side and then mirror it. So let's go to the thicken command is, oh, right, yeah. It's because there's 2 edges there. This was just a copy of the other one. I think that's what it is anyway. Thicken command can be very finicky. Yeah, still being finicky. So let's just see if we get rid of one face. Will it let me thicken this? Yeah. And then let's do 2 the other way too. And then I think if we just grab this face and rather than pull it, we extrude it and we press F to do it on the freestyle. We can then bring that along to the middle here. And then mirror these. Now I'm actually going to add in a little bit. Let's add in 1 mil there. One mil there. Let's join these together. So we're getting this, one of these tongs, one of these prongs, one of these fins, one of these fins. So now it tapers. It also has a rounding on the end here. So if we were to do this, to add a rounding, and then I'm just gonna, let's just do a little array just to see what we think of. Gee, we don't need this bit here, do we? This is excess from when I symmetrical, are we? It's just as well I noticed that now, because them not being symmetrical would have been a gigantic pain later. Right, let's just do the radial array 32C. So I did this because now they intersect. So we don't want that. So 22, 20, I think 20. Yeah, I think 20. Actually, do I have, now this could be me doing something disastrous because I don't think, yeah, I've never used this feature. It's brand new in Plasticity, and it's this here, this make instances. So effectively what it's doing is there is only one solid, and it is this. So I believe all of these, they've just got this white outline rather than this black outline. They're now instances. So bearing in mind, as I say, I've never used this. It's just me guessing. Yeah. So now any change I make to one of those, well, sorry, this one, which is the original, now impacts all the instances, which is actually perfect for this. I think we can just actually hide all these as well, just while we're working on them, because now what I can do is I can add the ball shape in, I can play with this, and we'll be able to, in real time, see like what it's done to all the others, which is really cool. And I knew when they'd added instances, I was like, oh, that's going to be really useful. And then I just haven't actually ever used it. But yeah, right. Let's actually hide the instances. Let me have a little look at my image again. So I'm actually going to make a copy of this and put it on the other axis so I can see it on both. Say it's on the X90. Just so I can see it when we're here as well. So it looks like what happens is we have a little bit of a dip. So an L shape and then another lip, like a curve that comes down into the ball. So effectively, I think what we want to do is this. So if we take this here, and I mean, I'm not actually directly copying the thing, I'm just using it as inspiration. And then I think we probably want quite an aggressive curve. Now, I don't think I want to do this, which is just bridge them. I don't want to do that. Actually, I think I do want to do that. That looks quite good. Let's just join all these together and then go on this plane. Now, are they planar? No, they're not. Scale Y0. Grab Y. Whoa. Flying. Let's cut. Yeah. Just add in some little fillets there. So now I believe if we bring back all those instances. Oh, interesting. It got rid of the instances. Don't know why I did that. Maybe you're probably seeing on the stream, maybe I did something to get rid of them. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, I really like that. So let's also... Can we do a full fillet? No, I didn't think it would allow us to do that. We will add a fillet in here though. See, that's so cool how it now does it to all the other ones as well. Bloody love plasticity. Let's not be greedy and just do one at a time. Well, actually, if we do a fillet here, it'll transit all the way down, won't it? Ooh, or do we want a chamfer rather than a fillet? It's more industrial, isn't it, a chamfer? Because it speaks of machining. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Make some funny noises when I'm streaming. So there's some reason this won't... This won't allow a chamfer. I've never seen that before. I like heat sinks, but not that much. So something blocking us here. This is normally one of those things where you're like, oh, there's a tiny little... Oh no, it does select it all. I think that was actually the problem. I wasn't selecting it all. Yeah, let's do these two. What, more of an aggressive fin on the outside, like a more aggressive chamfer. Yeah, that's cool. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out what's the shape this is going to be that makes it a lamp, not a heatsink. So how do we turn these to be real? This is what I normally do, is I just press F and then instances. Realize instances. I'm going to assume that's that. So do we just select all the instances? F, realize instances. Worked a treat. Right. Let's make a copy of one of these fins, the first one. Control G to group it into its own group, just as a backup. Hide it because I don't need it for now. And then let's just see if we can boolean all these together. And we can, because plasticity is brilliant. So I think we're actually going to look pretty similar to the other lamp in that it'll sit on its side. But let's just get, so if we're saying that's the top, really 240s as much as I'd want to go. We do some deleting of redundant topology here. We can. I love that feature because there's so many times you look and think that's going to be a pain if I have to do that. So let me make a copy. Let's go to, get rid of that. I want a copy of this geometry on the bottom. And don't know what I'm going to do with it. But my idea is if I can do some sort of absolutely insane loft, which really, I shouldn't have joined everything if that's what I was going to do. Just get too excited when it comes to this sort of stuff, and I'm like, right, well, I'll join it, and then I'm further down the line, but it's not really the right thing to do. What happens if I offset this? Yeah, see, this is what I'm thinking. So if I could get that shape and then scale it in like this definitely will not work. I think the idea here is really what I should be doing is lots of little ones. So it's too complex. Yeah, try lofting in smaller chunks. Right. So that's not a problem though. What we can do is if we take from here to here, I'm effectively just breaking everything. Well, actually, could I just take that back up hard? Just going to try and loft one. Yeah, let's just bring that out into the main work group. And then interesting. So why is that not? Oh, right, because that is what I'm thinking is here is that this looks like it's rotated off what these are, because I'm thinking that's a fin and that's a fin, but no, that is a fin and that is a fin. Oh, this could be difficult to loft. Nothing like coming into a straight plan, is there? So, you know what, right, let's just literally try and do this bit by bit. So we're thinking that that line, oh, we're going to have to break you down, aren't we? Alt-J. There we go. This is going to be hellacious. This is not the right way to do this. No, I need thinking time here. It's one approach. Problem is those fins are getting thinner as they go down. But it is cool. Let's just look at that. We're going to have to do this, aren't we? We're going to have to do this. Yeah, I like that. I actually really like that. So let's just cut the bottom off because it's got to be flat. Oh, we actually could do with joining all these together first. Please work, yes. Get rid of all them curves that we definitely did not ever need. Just going to delete all the curves because I'm feeling spicy. Right, well, that's not going to print, but that's not expected to print. What I'm going to do is going to put a circle on the bottom and extrude it up so it's got a nice solid base. On the bottom, I said, not the top. On the bottom, I said. Also not remotely central. I like something funky's going on today. There seems to be a lot of stuff not... I'm like looking at my screen thinking, have I got some odd setting? But I don't. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. However, how is this looking side on? Whoa. This will be very flat. I think I want it a bit more. Oh, no, I think it's okay. Yeah, it shows it off, doesn't it? Let's do that. So now we need to bring in my mount. Let's just say we need to effectively cut out here down through the whole thing. Yes. Now we can bring, oh God, next time on a stream and I say, let's design it not straight on. Let's design it top down. Just say no. Tell me to stop immediately. Abort. So how high do I want the light in it? I think I might actually want it quite low in this one. Yeah, maybe about there. I'm going to make an adapter for this mount that allows you to use E24 and E27 mounts. Just because it saves me having to redesign every lamp I've ever made. And people do seem to want those mounts, even though it's difficult because it's not really there's a standard for the bulb, but you're not designing for the bulb, you're designing for the little shroud that goes around it. And I've got 3 here and everyone's different, so it makes it difficult when what you're trying to do is like support people who are selling the item. So the mount would be in there. Now, here's where I wish I hadn't realized all the instances, because I feel like it'd be really nice to have more of a taper out. So I'm going to cut everything up. This is the whole thing with plasticity. Just cut everything up. Don't ever give 2 hoots about what you're doing. Just assume you're going to break it and rebuild it constantly. Let's go to 40 because then we know getting the middle. So cut, extend the cut, extend the cut. Deleted them, which was a stupid thing to do, but hey, this is what we do. I'm going to rebuild it all, so what can we do? Wow, one point today I had 4 people watching at once. What a miracle. I don't actually have the viewer numbers up on my screen because I don't want to go into a blind panic. Right, let's go from here to here. Let's do G1. Let's turn on X-ray so I can actually see the line. Yes. What we've done there is we've bridged this line to this line, and basically it just creates this nice, smooth. It's not going to work. Well, if I extend it, oh, then it's going to cut off there though. Don't want that. Don't want that. Let's try a different bridge. It's that curve I want, not the other one. God, could do getting rid of all those lines. Right. Now, as it stands, I don't like that as a single. I think not 40, Jesus. Oh yeah, it's good. I like it. I like that. Whenever I read back, after I do a video, I do like a YouTube transcript, not a YouTube transcription, I do a whisper.ccp transcription. And I realise I say so a lot, and I like that a lot. So, wow, I just got a notification pop up there that says add effects using hand gestures. Because I was waving my hand around. I hope I haven't like sent love hearts onto the screen or anything like that. Not that it would matter. Do I want to try the same and just thin off this bottom a tiny bit? So if I was to put a line here, and then bridge up to there. I'll just hide this because I'm not convinced yet. Oh, don't want a section analysis. What am I doing here? Let's actually realize these as instances. Not realize them. Let's make these instances just this. Because that's better. I do like that. So, oh, I want to put these back in. They're a bit janky, these fillets. Whoa, yeah, that screen went blank there. That's plasticity crashing, but look at that. It crashed and it's literally at the exact same point. I hadn't even saved it. Oh, it's so good. I think it just must constantly be doing like backups. I'll call this heatsink Alibaba because it's a heatsink we found on Alibaba. The problem now is, where's my actual solid there? So it's probably going to do the same if I try and do that. So let's just do these outside ones first. Let's turn those edges off. That's messy, but it doesn't, yeah, see, it doesn't show on the actual geometry. Let me save it again. Right. So we're going to have to realize these instances now because I need to make edits to some of them. Like say, for example, here the cable needs to come out there, and obviously that won't. Oh, no, if it's going outside, the cable does not have to come out there. The cable can come out the bottom. But I will realize them because I want to make a little cutout on this one here. So when the cable comes out, it's got a little bit of room to bend round. Is that the middle there? Yeah. So that just means that when the light's in there, it's got this area here for the cable to come out and then get down at the bottom. And what we will first of all do is we'll join all these together. But before I do, I will make a duplicate of everything. And I will group it and I'll hide it, just so I've got the individual fins if I want them. Now, let's bring in the, let's boolean the mount. I think I'm just going to bring this all the way down. So I'll give it some weight. What are we doing here? No, just chop that off, keep it tidy. So now that we've actually added that, we've tapered it even more. So let's go on the rotate on the Y. Yeah, it actually now will, let me actually get it on the angle it should be on. Yeah, so it sits a little bit more pointing upwards. Man, I think that's awesome. I know it's weird. I know people won't necessarily like it. Well, they might. They seem to like a lot of stuff I think people won't like, and vice versa. But I think that's sick. I think that looks so good in like a matte silver or a matte charcoal, which I've said before. Let's just turn the edges off. Should we try rendered view? I think rendering's pretty, it's not really what plasticity is about, but I'm going to put iron on it, not because that's the right thing, because it's not going to print an iron, but that bad boy. So it's cool, isn't it, that we've gone from seeing that picture on AliExpress to effectively using it as inspiration for a really odd, abstract, industrial light lamp. And I mean, what's that taken? I've been streaming for 1 hour and 29 minutes. I had 10 minutes pre-roll. I did the other lamp beforehand. And this is where plasticity is just, it's just the best. It's just so good at this sort of stuff, like just rapidly churning through ideas. Now, this is not finished. I need to put in, we've got this slot here, which is perfect for the, when I do the double diffuser style lamps. And I say I've got this slot here, I mean this slot here. So I think I'll put a diffuser on there, but I'll see how this prints first, because this is going to take some printing. I'm going to say 17 hours. So I'll get this printed and then I'll play around with diffusers, because it might be I want a diffuser that comes up. If we, why don't I just put the bloody lamp back where it was rather than. I might want a diffuser that comes proud. Or I might just want a little bit of a diffuser in there that just effectively, adds a glow. I don't know. But what I'll do is I get this in hand and I feel the 14, actually let's have a little look. I dread to think if this is over a kilo, I'm going to be good. Because I just don't post things, because it's a big ask to be like, oh yeah, you like this design, well, the whole roll. So let's just go lamp. Right, just bear with me a second while I load up Bamboo Slicer. You won't be able to see it on the stream. File, new project. If you're listening to this, Mark, got a new microphone. I've got a new microphone arm. So if you're watching the VOD or anything like this, just drop a comment just to be like, if you think the microphone was okay. I should never ask that because everybody's got different opinions. But if you think the sound's okay for the talking, etc., just let me know. Or any hints or tips that you think. I've got a compressor on. I've got a limiter on. I've got noise reduction on. But yeah. Right, I'm going to do this in Bamboo at a 0.24. I'm going to put strength. I'm going to do the infill, the sparse infill as 5%. And I'm going to ensure vertical. Let's just try it like this first. I was going to turn off ensure vertical shell thickness. 25%. So I'm going to say 17 hours. Hey, if you've never seen Plasticity before, Plasticity is amazing. It's one of those modeling programs that is so, I don't say it's unheard of because I think it's getting more and more popular all the time. But once I switched over to Plasticity, everything changed for me with 3D modeling. It's great. Look it up. There's a free trial if you want to try it out. Also, my channel's got a million videos. Well, not a million. It's got plenty of videos on it. 19 hours. And 1 kilo and 0.21 grams of filament. That's over a roll by 0.21 grams. I'll have to play with the settings because that's too much. Nobody will download that, but I'm just gonna change 2 settings. I know I've not got on the screen. I should really have Bamboo Slicer set up on my screen, but it's not right now. So you'll just have to stare at this wonderful heatsink lamp in Plasticity right now. Right, I've got it down to 987 grams. Just save it and walk away, David. Save it and walk away. Right, so I'll test this tomorrow. I'll print this tomorrow. I've got a couple of things I designed yesterday to go through that still need testing. But I love it. I love the design. A thing I could do to save an enormous amount of time is cut the base off and just make it a lot shorter. But I'll have a think. It's kind of boring stuff that I don't really want to do on stream. I like showing Plasticity and I like going through the workflow and how we go from ridiculous things like Alibaba pages for heat sinks to inspiration for lamps, which, you know, I don't feel like that's a normal thing for normal people to do, but here I am on the internet talking about it and doing it. So as we've come to the end, I'm just going to do my usual shill moment. Every time I say shill moment, YouTube thinks I say chill moment, which it's not chill for me because I find shilling myself incredibly difficult. But this is me on MakerWorld, Abstractia Design, 647 models now, including the ones we've designed on streams recently. All of them are available under a single commercial license. If you like the models and you want to sell them in your store, the prints, not the physical model files. You can't sell my model files, but you can sell prints of my models if you commercially subscribe. They're all under one subscription, the top tier anyway. The top tier gives you all of the models and the image use, middle just models, bottom one model. And then there's a bottom that's just like, hey, I like your work, have £5 or something like that. I can't remember how much it is. But yeah, go check out the models. I'll just randomly do some scrolling and pick a model. I'm not looking at the screen. Yeah, intricate design planter with integrated drip tray. These are cool. I've actually got quite a few of these. So they are planters. This one's got this crazy mad external pattern that was pretty simple to make actually once I figured it out. 2 parts. Can you see it properly on this image? Oh, my internet's, I am streaming. I was going to say, why is my internet slow? Yeah, so it's 2 parts with a drip tray. So there's drainage built into the pot. They're popular. Quite a lot of people subscribe specifically for planters. So there's an example of something you could have. But yeah, I'm going to call it quits for today. That's an hour and 29 minutes. I'm going to go watch some Formula 1 cars drive around tracks. I'm that kind of boring person. Hope you all have a wonderful Thursday. It's Friday tomorrow. I think I'll stream tomorrow. It depends how fried I am by testing this model, which I think could be a bit of a monster. But yeah, have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy life. Look out the window. Breathe the air. Huff it all in. Unless you live next to the M1, don't huff that in. It'll give you cancer. Otherwise, just have a great time and have fun. And bye for now.